Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September episode of Miracle Conversations, or also we could call this a Nightmares to Miracles podcast, the Nightmares to Miracles podcast. This is where Dr. Dave Asomaning and I get together every month and talk about miracle mindsets. And Dave is the expert here. He's written books and he's done dissertations on the subject of miracle mindsets, but I'm just here to kind of bounce ideas in the conversation and ask the silly questions if those need to be asked, or not so silly questions sometimes. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm currently based in Holland, but I'm originally from Los Angeles. And yeah, we like to just talk about this subject and how we can improve our lives in this way by not just focusing on what's going on out in the world, but really focusing on how we perceive that and what's inside. And we pull a lot of this information from a book called A Course in Miracles, which came before Dave's studies and inspired his work. So today's no exception. We're going to pull a lesson from that book and we're going to talk about it. And so before we get into that, Dave, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Thank you, Brittany. Good to be with you again for our September 2024 show and call. Love everything you said. Uh, Always do. And I live in Florida, about an hour on the north of on the I-95 corridor from West Palm Beach, and called the Treasure Coast. Nice, beautiful area of the world to live in, and then, yes, as you pointed out, our work together is about really broadcasting a message about miracle mindset, miracle mindedness, miracle power. There are lots of different ways to talk about it, but one of the ones that seems to have settled down with certain segments of my audience is miracle mindset, right? And miracle mindset is distinguishable from things like positive mindset or growth versus fixed mindset, or even millionaire mindset, billionaire mindset. You can put mindset after just about anything. But the thing I like about miracle mindset is that it really addresses the point you just brought up, which is that it's about generating solutions to problems that seem impossible to solve from the inside out and that are divinely sourced. There's a higher power element, a God element, a Buddha element. Now, some people are very particular about the distinctions in all of those areas, and I mean, there's a place to honor all of that. But we were just talking in the prep that part of our mission is to be as welcoming and as hospitable as possible to different pathways in life. It's like different languages. You can't. To me, it's a tough sell to critique the way Japanese and Chinese are expressed compared to the way Arabic is expressed, compared to the way English is expressed. They look stunningly different, but they communicate essentially the same thing. So, in any case, miracle mindset is what we're really on about in a dedicated way. This whole podcast is about that. And so today, we are going to be looking at, let me just see, lesson 270 is the lesson. And it says, I will not use the body's eyes today. I will not use the body's eyes today. And then there's a special additional teaching in this section of A Course in Miracles. It's not throughout the course, but in this section there are these encapsulated topics. This one is section 5. It's what's the body? What is the body? And it pertains to several lessons. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. But our partnership in this work has been really blessed by a miraculous longevity so far, in relative terms. So I'm really excited on each of these calls to talk about the miracles that we've experienced from the beginning. So I'll do that rundown, and then we'll go from there. So you and I met when I needed help desperately with my worksheets. It always cracks me up when I tell this because I mean those worksheets that I was using were pitiful. They were like they just had no aesthetic charm whatsoever. And again, I was a bit oblivious. I was like, yeah, I'm putting this stuff out there. It's the information that makes a difference. But when you came back to me with what you had done, I was like, whoa, this is like night and day almost, you know. And then by degrees, every time I had something that needed some additional aesthetic improvement, some design stuff, I sort of tentatively check with you, not trying to pressure you into anything, but I say, hey, look, you know, got this next thing, which is my video modules for the online course. Is there anything you can do to pretty up just the raw recordings? And sure enough, you took all of that, you made intros and outros, you had graphics. The whole thing was like, whoa, okay, very nice. Um, that material, with a lot of editing over a couple of years, became the book, Nightmares to Miracles, of the same name as the course. And then I started really getting excited about doing this monthly podcast, and checked with you about whether you'd be willing, as you said so creatively in your own intro, to be a bit of a sidekick to me. I did not relish the idea of trying to do a monthly podcast on my own, just talking into the air. I was like, well, let me see. Maybe Brittany would be interested in being a dialogue partner. You know, somebody who can ask questions, and it's turned out wonderfully. It's just the right thing. It makes this so easy to do. So that's a miracle. The ease with which all of this has kind of flowed for us over time. And then one of the other things before I hand it over to you, Brittany, so you can explain a little bit more where people can find you, is that you have technical skills around film editing, video editing, whether it's the visual part, the audio part. You take care of all of that with intros and outros, and you prep everything for the video podcast on YouTube, the audio podcast on Libsyn, and then a blog, a written blog. You get this dialogue transformed, this audio transformed into a written blog article. And then on top of all of that, you post everything every month. So that somebody, I mean, I'm okay with technology, the things I need to do, but I can't see myself being able to do that stuff efficiently. And you're just like a lifesaver with all of that, right? So all these miraculous things, and then we're still finding our way about how to celebrate more publicly some of the things that we enjoy as victories behind the scenes. But it really is an amazing experience to hear the victories, you know, that are unfolding, like the beginning of popcorn popping in a container. It's like one, two, pop, 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 pop. You know, that's where we're not quite there yet, but it's going there. So anyway, over to you for anything else you'd like to say about what you do, how you help your clients, where people can find you.
Yeah, thank you for that awesome testimonial, as you do on this show every month. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be the dialogue partner with you. I like that. I like that title better than the silly question asker.
Oh, sweet. You
Yeah.
ask the questions that we might, for somebody steeped in the Course of Miracles, might be a little bit of a fuddy-duddy about it, you know, and you ask with fresh kind of, you know, that's how I interpret it. It's great questions. Yeah. Sorry to
Thanks.
interrupt.
Yeah, thanks. So, yeah, I do branding, and I do help with a variety of media and design tasks, like Dave was saying. I do specialize in helping entrepreneurs create digital products, including online courses and things like that. So, I have a website, which is my name, BrittanyNew.com, and I also have a YouTube channel, which features some videos, video tutorials to help people do things themselves on tools like Canva and things that people want to learn how to just be a little bit more hands-on for their own power. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube or on my website, BrittanyNew.com. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, you're totally welcome. And again, the reason we do this every month is that it's a pleasure to talk about and rehearse the miracles we've experienced by doing miracle mindset work together. And I'm a big believer in the principle that the more we celebrate the miracle breakthroughs that miracle mindset is leading us to, the more we'll have to celebrate. You know, and so it's a snowballing effect. It's not just a mechanical thing to do. So yeah, great. You've been amazing. Thank you for all your help with this. It's made life. I always say it's like just melting cold snow with hot water or something. You know, the obstacles just melt, like moving mountains parting the Red Sea, all these different miracle metaphors. Let's see. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, do you put any of your links in the show notes? I think you do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great,
Yes.
great. And then I
They're in
put
there.
them in the newsletter too.
Okay.
At the
Awesome.
beginning, there's a section, a Brittany section, right at the very beginning, where I give you a shout out in the newsletter. So that goes out too. So for people in our audience who are looking for you, they can find you easily.
Great.
So
Thank you.
yeah, you are welcome and thank you. So we're going to shift to the lesson for today, and we've been
Awesome.
doing a series of very short lessons. This is sort of towards the end of the workbook in A Course in Miracles, and it can, for those who have in our audience who have been following us, it can seem a bit repetitive, I imagine. But I was thinking about this and meditating on it yesterday, and as the person who preps in multiple different ways before we do the show, I know that I'm grateful for the amount of repetition that's involved. Even with these simple lessons, I'm like, wow, you know, that noggin does not want to take this in sometimes. And it's like you got to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it every kind of different way. So I'm going to read a little bit of the lesson, and then we have this article. It's like an added article that covers like 10 or so lessons, and there are 10 of these in this section of the workbook. And I don't really ever remember seeing these before, but I was surprised to see this sort of additional teaching. It's not exactly the lesson, but it amplifies the lesson. I was surprised to see it, and I was like, "What's this doing here? I never saw this here. Who put this here?" People are putting things in here that are not supposed. Anyway, I got over myself and I saw, okay, it's something that really is there. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and as usual, it'll be talk a little bit, pause, see if you have any thoughts or questions. Uh, so, any of those questions representing uh, audience members who may be less familiar with ACIM. So, let's see. First paragraph in today's lesson is like this. The headline is, I will not use the body's eyes today. I will not use the body's eyes today. Incidentally, before we go any further, our theme for this year has been vision in A Course in Miracles, right? Vision. So that's why this is kind of interesting where it's saying, I will not use the body's eyes today. And Brittany, we're like one more call, the October call, one more call away from starting a whole new theme in November, taking us through December and starting the new year in 2025 with the new theme. So that'll be forthcoming soon. So interesting. So I will not use the body's eyes today. And then it's almost like a prayer again. Father or God, Christ's vision is your gift to me, and it has the power to translate all the body's eyes behold into the sight of a forgiven world. How glorious and gracious is this world, yet how much more will I perceive in it than sight can give? The world forgiven signifies your son or your child. So basically, in a nutshell, by being able to see with this spiritual vision, we sidestep the natural tendency the human mind has to see most things in terms of some kind of battle or warfare, right? And we begin to see through the divine eyes, the spiritual eyes, in which everything can seem forgiven and even beautiful and even Christ-like. So I mentioned, I think, maybe last time we were on this call, I've talked about it so much I can't even keep track of where I've shared it, but just as a quick example to anchor this quickly today, rather than wait towards the end, I went to my local gas station, which is 2 minutes away, and I was filling up. And there was somebody that I would be very careful not to interact with under normal circumstances. They look scary to me. Even though I'm 6'5", I'm a big guy, and I'm not really scared of people. But you don't know who's carrying a gun or who might mean you harm. And he started talking to me unsolicited. He was like, where you park, it's very inconvenient to me. You park on the corner where big trucks are supposed to park. And I was like, dude is talking to me. I'm like, I've parked here without ever hearing anything about it. So I was a bit surprised at first. But for the first time in my life, I was not irritated or offended because of all the stuff we've been doing in these lessons and the repetition of it, I was like, I was just curious. And so I said to him, I said, oh, tell me, I want to know more. It was almost like I was saying to him, my spirit was saying to him, I want to know everything you can teach me about this topic. And I was saying things like that to him. I said, well, the big trucks, they can park on the corner pumps. And even though you can pump your gas, your premium and things there, it's just an unwritten rule that your smaller cars should park somewhere else and leave those corner ones open for people with big trucks like me. And I said, wow, that is such a revelation. I had no idea. Do you want me to move my car now so you can park here now? I was like the Energizer bunny. I had been wound up and couldn't stop, you know. And I was watching myself, and it was all because of this stuff. No irritation. I wasn't messing with him. I wasn't playing with him. I was just genuinely present to him. And he said, no, you can stay where you are. And I said, well, I'm about to take off, but I want to check with you one more time to see if there's anything more about this topic you want me to know about. After that, I was like, wow, if I could live there all the time, I think that's what this stuff is teaching, right? So I'm just trying to illustrate it. Let me pause here, see if you have any thoughts or comments, and then we'll touch on a few more things. And it's pretty simple and direct for today.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite of that choice that you made is the tendency to victimize oneself, actually. And sometimes life puts you in situations that could be seen as an oppressive situation, and people participate in that, further making it more oppressive. But you actually decided to turn it into a moment of, oh, today I get to be the student and he gets to be the teacher, and won't this be fun? And most people don't have the open mind. They're just like, oh, he has a problem and it's against me. And so I must be defending myself. And even if I don't even know what I'm defending, that's the world that we're living in today. People on the defense and the offense and etc. Mm-hmm.
I'm almost always like what you just described. 99.999% of the time, I'm like, I mean, I could use some colorful language. I won't. Uh, but I'm like, yeah, who are you to talk to me? You don't know me. I don't know you like that. I didn't give you permission. You can't, you're talking down to me. You're going to lecture me about the gas pump I've been coming to for, yeah, please go take 10 seats somewhere, Don't have time for it, you know.
Yeah.
But I might not show anything.
Mm-hmm.
I won't show anything. I won't show displeasure. I won't show irritation. Course in Miracles has gotten me that far where I might be inside churning and feeling hateful and angry and vicious or put upon or oppressed or victimized, any of it and all of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was almost as though all the work we've been doing this year on vision and how to see with the mind of Christ, it's almost like it just took over. I did not actually make a conscious decision. I just found myself on a different channel, and it felt weird to me. It felt like if somebody was watching me,
Mm-hmm.
they would say, Dave is messing with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's so insincere, and he doesn't mean anything he's saying or doing because it's so unnatural and over the top nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy is being a little bit borderline, you know, blank, 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 put in whatever word you want to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was caught by surprise. I was like, oh, the payoff. It's like, the payoff is like this feeling of, this is my brother.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I love this person.
Mm-hmm.
I care about what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And I want them to explain as much as possible to me
Mm-hmm.
so I can really understand and be on their side. And I just credit this whole thing we've been doing. It's so much
Mm-hmm.
easier to share this example,
Mm-hmm.
and add a little bit of the teaching than to teach the dry theory of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it's like the first time I ever played the guitar and I was actually jamming with a group of people. There was a drummer, there was a bass player, and there was me. And the three of us were playing music. And I was like, oh my goodness, we're actually playing a blues together. Never had that experience. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
take flight for the first time on something.
Hmm.
and you'll never go back. It's like
Yeah.
anyway. So thank you for what you shared. I love it. You get it. Um, the level of warfare and irritation that people just getting in. I always say, yeah, people are getting in your business. It's like
Hmm.
stay out of my business. I
Hmm.
didn't need you over here. So um,
Yeah.
anyway, so we'll just touch on a few other things, and then that'll be it for today. Anything else you wanted to say? Uh, I'm talking a lot here. I want to make sure you have the mic too.
No, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah.
Good. So this part about the body, the whole section about the body,
Hmm.
right? It says things like, I'll just spot check a few things here for us. The body is a fence the child of God imagines they have built to separate parts of themselves from other parts. So typically, the reason it's a battle with somebody like this man that I encountered is because my body defines me as separate from him. Right? He's a part of me, and we're a part of one another, and we're all actually the same being. But what it's saying here is that we fragmented ourselves, right? So that's what, excuse me, gives us a sense of identity, and then we're fighting from that place. It says later on, the body will not stay. In other words, we'll all eventually relinquish it. Right? In certain parts of the course, it says it'll just be laid aside when it's time to transition. If we've treated it well and so on, it'll be laid aside like a faithful garment, piece of clothing. There shouldn't be any drama or trauma about it. It's just a transition. And then the final thing I wanted to share here, which I really like, is that it says that the body is a dream.
Mm.
Now that's interesting on some level to hear this section say that the body is a dream. And I think the reason I like it so much is because it's very consistent with the course's teaching that nothing that the physical eyes perceive is real.
Mm.
It's all a movie.
Hmm.
And that so much of human suffering comes from people trying to make the movie that they're watching real
Hmm.
in and through feeling like the bodies that are involved in these things are real. But if you say the body and everything it experiences, metaphorically, if you want,
Hmm.
is just an elaborate dream,
Hmm.
then it makes it easier to let things go,
Hmm.
And so, I mean, sometimes I'm in conversations with people and they really got their dukes up. They want to fight, not with me, but about the person they're telling me about in the client session or whatever it is. And I'm like, what? I'm thinking to myself, but do I, can I practice on their behalf that the person that they're all up in arms about is just somebody that they're dreaming about?
Hmm.
And my job is just to help them wake up from it. Or if it's me, to wake up myself. And it just makes it easier to switch vision channels. That
Hmm.
I'm not, if I'm too invested in seeing things through the body's eyes,
Hmm.
then I'm really buying into the dream. Now, this comes up almost all the time. We're on our calls about this, our group calls. Last thing I'll say, people will frequently mention those who have no physical sight,
Mm.
like a Stevie Wonder or something like that. They'll be like,
Hmm.
and the general direction of the conversation would be like, they actually pick up more
Mm.
than people who have sight, except in the area of sight,
Hmm.
where they'll stumble around and get see and stuff. So I
Hmm.
don't want to be, what's the word? I mean, I don't want to take privileges saying stuff about a disability that I don't know
Hmm.
anything about. It's
Hmm.
hard to say how they deal with it and they navigate it and so
Hmm.
on. But um, it's just an interesting observation that some people make on our calls that they seem to have a heightened sensitivity in certain areas,
Hmm.
while they have a diminished capacity with actual physical sight.
Hmm.
All right, so that's it. That's what I wanted to share. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on your end. We'll do a
Yeah.
little bit of
Hmm.
application in just a moment, but over to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a nightmare situation yesterday. I told you I was traveling, but I didn't tell you I missed my last flight. We'd taken a few flights throughout the trip. We traveled around, and our last flight home, which I really never do this. I never try to book the last day of a big trip the day before we go back to work because you
Right.
want to have a day to reset. But the way the trip worked out, that it had to be this way. And I thought, well, we'll get in the morning and we'll have the rest of the day to kind of relax and recover. That was not
Yes.
the case. We got in very late last night, barely made it. Better would have been better if we didn't have to travel at all since we missed the flight and maybe wait for the next day.
Yes.
But yeah, it took me hours, Dave, to realize nobody died. We're healthy. We're safe. I couldn't snap out of it for hours, and my stomach was sick. And yeah, it cost a lot of money. It wasn't just like, we'll book you on the next flight. It was not that way. It was like we
Right.
had to take a whole new route, pay for a whole new ticket on the spot, $1,000. And yeah, it wasn't a nice experience. We were supposed to get home around 10 a.m., ended up being more like midnight. So
Mm.
anyway, just the amount of
Yeah.
time it took me, I was so ashamed. I kept apologizing to my partner, like, I'm sorry, I gotta flip the switch. And he was super calm, though. That's why I chose him. God can't have two people
Yes.
who are
Right.
both up in arms. But yeah, when it came, I don't know if anyone has ever missed a flight, there's a moment where the gate agents decide we're not taking any more people,
Hmm.
regardless of all the other circumstances that are going on, regardless of what the plane's doing, what the shuttle's doing, what time
Yes.
it is almost. And so it was just a few seconds, and just the rage. I was like, this is personal.
Yes. Yes.
um, yeah, it was just one of those moments, and it took me way too long to snap out of it. But yeah, I was definitely not seeing the movie, the dream part of it for most of the time. And then I thought, okay, no one's died. We could have been on this trip. Many worse things could have happened, and thank God none of that did. So
Wow, that's
yeah.
a beautiful story, Brittany. Thank you for being so authentic and vulnerable, sharing it.
Mm.
I love it. I love it because that's where I tend to live
Mm.
most of the time, right? So I can fully,
No, really?
yeah, I'm like,
Mm.
now I'll be as calm as you can imagine on the
Mhm.
surface. I'm clear
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
I mean, long gone are the days when I used to have tantrums. I used
Mm.
to have actually physical tantrums. I mean, I would
Mm.
lose my mind, like,
Mhm.
physically. And so those days are my younger days, but I don't do that anymore. But inside, I can be boiling,
Mhm.
and I won't show it. I'll have a smile on my face.
Mhm.
So to me, it's about the same thing, really,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
And it can take quite a while to calm down
Mhm.
and shift channels again,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and I kid you not, this is the type of work that I'm doing with a lot of people about a lot of
Mhm.
things, right? It leads
Mhm.
us into application too. Like, if you have an executive team and you show up for your senior leadership meeting and you're running an organization, billions of dollars in value, millions of
Mhm.
dollars, whatever, and
Mhm.
people haven't done what they said they would do or what you expected them to do,
Mhm.
most of the CEOs that I work with, I love all my clients. I'm not talking trash about them, like I always say.
Mhm.
But at some point early on in our journey together, they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm entitled to have a tantrum, and it's my
Mm.
tantrum that gets them going and makes them do the right thing."
Mm.
That's the mindset, and it takes a while in our work together to begin to open this part up
Mhm.
without the fear that you won't be successful. That's the
Mm.
other
Mhm.
competing thought, is that if I'm not a real menace to
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
they dismiss me and we don't get stuff done. So I have to be a menace.
Mhm.
People have to be scared of me. And I'm like, it's kind of funny when we talk about it, right? And
Mhm.
they'll be like, yeah, I could be a menace. I could be a nice guy, but if you're not doing what you're supposed to, I'll scare I'll
Mhm.
scare the living daylights out of you. And I'm like, oh, don't do that. Like,
There's another way. Yeah.
yeah, there's a total another way. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's the application.
Mhm.
I mean, that'll be one of the main areas of application. But
Mhm.
how did you get back? How did you get back to waking up from the dream state, the nightmare state, if you can say?
Yeah, I will say, and this speaks to the work that we do here. I did have to pray. I had to pray. I had to get with my partner and be like, I can't do this. I'm just furious. I just am filled with regret. All the things we could have done differently. We should have cut people in the line. I'll add, it wasn't our fault we missed the flight. The security line was normally a certain way, and they admitted they were having an issue with security. The line was
Mm-hmm.
backed up. We were an hour early to the flight as per our usual. We travel all the time, and it was just a European European small flight. We had done many others the same way. And despite that, they said, oh, well, maybe you should have been 2 hours earlier today. And yeah, they said you can file a claim, but technically we do encourage passengers to come 2 hours early. So I thought, yeah, we're not going to have a case for that. But and yeah, it wasn't completely. There were others that did come earlier, of course. There's a joke that like maybe the boomer millennial parents, they would come 4 hours before a flight because they like to be on time and early, and the millennials show up 45 to 1 hour early, maybe. But
Yes.
anyway, so there was an issue, and I just expected them to wait for us as other flights did, and ours just didn't. They just looked at us and said, "No, we've closed it now." And so what it took was a prayer and a moment of like, I can't, I have to, I tried to buy some coffee and feel better and go look at the shops and stuff, but I was just like, oh,
You were
boiling.
cooking,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And of course I felt really guilty that my partner was being so consoling and he didn't deserve, like if roles had been reversed, which happens also sometimes, I would be like, okay, it's over. Nothing we can do about it. Calm down. What can you do? Like I knew rationally that was the right
Sure.
thing, but I just couldn't. I even texted one of my friends, like, tell me a travel story to make me feel better about this. And she sent
Oh,
me
that's
some.
good. That's
Yeah, and I did
great.
that as well.
Yeah, those are wonderful, wonderful strategies, and I love all of it. I love it. Again, it's Course of Miracles is clear, and we all know this anyway, but so much more is being activated and triggered
Hmm. Hmm.
than just what's on the surface of the situation.
Hmm.
That's why it's so challenging,
Hmm.
because there's so much underlying pain for us as human beings,
Hmm.
in terms of the collective unconscious. World War
Hmm.
II, World War
Hmm.
One, slavery, the dinosaurs.
Hmm.
If you want to go that far, it's like, I mean, it's a lot of cataclysmic stuff.
Hmm.
And these episodes, they release little slivers of it,
Hmm.
and it's just about like everything we can do to not lose our minds.
Yeah. And I
And
know oh, sorry,
yeah,
we're getting
yeah,
into yeah, we have time for another little story, but there's one
yes,
little miracle story at the end of
sure,
this. Just a
yeah,
small thing. So we live in a place that's pretty far from all major airports, 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours in each direction. So I had already purchased train tickets from Brussels to where we live, which was like a 2 hour train. But we
yeah,
ended up being able to go to Amsterdam, which is also a 2 hour train, but a different train station. So I was like, oh, and on top of this, we can't even use the train tickets that we bought. So those train tickets are not refundable, they're not changeable, but I thought, well, we could just tell them our sob story and ask if they'll help us out. So we went to the little ticket window, we had some time. I said, hey, I bought these train tickets. I know that's not the policy, like came humbly. And this man at the ticket desk, he wrote a full page, handwritten note, stamped it with a stamp of approval for us to show the train operator that we could use our tickets. So
wow,
that was just really sweet of him. And aside from the small money that we saved on that ticket, it was just like a really nice moment for him to be able to do a gesture he knew he didn't have to do. And even my partner was like, wow, I would have never done that. I would have never asked. And I'm like, everything's negotiable, except getting on a flight that is closed, apparently, that is not negotiable. But other than that,
wow, that is an amazing miracle
mm,
story.
mm,
That is, I mean, to me, that's a clear.
mhm,
It actually brings more depth to the earlier part, which is
mhm,
that, I mean, we know this, we've touched on this before. A lot of people think this way as part of miracle mindset, but that there was a protective reason you were blocked from that flight.
mhm, mhm,
You know, people in 12-step recovery programs say this all the time: rejection is God's protection,
mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, you get used to the fact that there's a reason,
Mhm,
whatever it is that we can't see, where we're being
mhm,
prevented from going into a worse part of the nightmare. And then as
mhm,
you're calming down and moving over to the
mhm,
next level and getting back,
mhm,
waking up from, then you actually get a miracle. They
mhm,
don't do that stuff either. They're
mhm.
going to dismiss you. They're tired. They've been working. They've been dealing with the ornery
Mhm.
public. It's going to be dismissive. That's the standard way the nightmare is.
Mhm.
The world of bodies, and yet here you get a miracle. Oh, that's a really cool
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
I
but is it bad that I was checking the status of the original flight just to see if it crashed or not? Is that?
Well, you see, I was thinking like it's when I was saying that you were being protected.
Yeah.
Crash
I
is the
checked and I got furious because I'm like, and it arrived 20 minutes early.
right,
Oh, they could have waited 20 more
right.
minutes. We were just.
Yes. And I thought to
No.
myself, I said, well,
Mhm.
crashing is not the only thing that you could have been
No.
protected from. You
Yeah.
know,
All
it's
kinds of
like,
timings, like the way our lives are synchronized is, yeah, very
yeah,
intricate. And who knows? I thought maybe we'll meet someone important on this new journey, or
yes,
maybe me telling the story is going to trigger something in someone watching this video and going to affect
yes.
their life. Who knows?
Avoid meeting somebody who meant you harm along the
Mm,
way. There's a bunch
yeah.
of different
Yeah.
calibrations where it's
Hmm.
like, okay, you know best.
Hmm.
I'm gonna enjoy. You did a great job. It's a great story. I'm not giving you work, and you don't have to include this in the program if you don't want to. But that would be an amazing story to write up
Mm.
as miracle mindset for you. If
Hmm.
it could take a little bit of work, as you know, to write a story up, but that story is a nugget. It's a
Hmm.
definite nugget of like the same way we tell these stories. Like if we keep coming back to this and rehearsing it, it will snowball more and
Hmm.
more and more
Hmm.
into something that I mean, that's how this whole miracle mindset thing started for me.
Hmm.
It's synchronicities, this synchronicity, that synchronicity,
Hmm.
then this miracle, that miracle. I love that story. That's
Mm.
because I mean, again, you see how part of what I'm going on about here is that at first it can be almost habitual to not include the part B.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like, and I'm so glad that you did. It's just that's a perfect way to begin to wind down the call. Any
Yeah.
other thoughts about anything at all? And then
No, I
we've
think I
already
will
done.
write that, and I've got the note that the train customer service wrote, and I've got the screenshot of the message I sent to my friend asking for a story. Yeah, I
Yes,
could put it all together, and that could be a nice nugget if you want to do something with it in the newsletter or anything like that. Yeah.
that would be great. Newsletter. I mean, now we're snowballing in a good way.
Hmm.
There's so many ways. I mean, you'll have endless ways to use it yourself if you choose
Hmm.
to in your blog and different things. Yeah, but newsletter is a great place if we have your permission to put it in. I would love it.
Hmm.
I would love it. It's
Hmm.
just wow. Okay, so I have good
And the
chills. That's good.
destinations I had to go just make the story even more ridiculous. We were leaving Bulgaria to go to Holland,
Okay.
a place I've never been and never necessarily wanted to go, but that's where we were for a concert. And
Okay.
speaking of blind people, we were watching Andrea Bocelli concert the night before. That's
Wow.
who we were there to see.
That's
Um,
amazing. I
yeah,
had
so
just
we
read
got to
about
go to
him last
that.
week about
Oh,
how he
okay.
initially became blind. Yeah, I didn't know the story.
I
It was
did
a
not
whole
either. I had
thing.
been listening to his music for years and I didn't realize he was blind until the day before the concert. I didn't know.
Wow. Yeah.
I missed that
This
detail.
is
But
so
yeah.
synchronistic for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
And
like
then I ended up having to go to Vienna to get back to Holland. So it was just all these random places and yeah.
super, super annoying in the
Mm,
nightmare. Just
yeah.
irritating. Nothing's working and nobody's helping.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's really super irritating.
Mhm.
And yeah, Bocelli. So we talk about vision and
Mhm.
blindness and sight,
Mhm.
and people see. I mean, this is really there's something going on in today's conversation, which is extra in
Yeah.
a good way.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm glad you all made it back home eventually, but it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you just want to get home, and you got work
Yeah.
the next day, and
Yeah.
it's like one endless part of the journey after another.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I work I work on my laptop anywhere, so for me it wasn't a problem. And if I were alone, I told him I probably would have just stayed an extra day and
right.
just waited it out. Or I was looking at flights everywhere in Europe. I was like, where else can I go for under?
Yes.
Yeah. So
You had
but
extra
because of
concern
him,
to take care of him.
yes, yes. And I
Yes.
had chosen to go to the concert, which was like, and we had just done this big trip through Italy. And then I thought, oh, the concert's just after, and the flights aren't bad. And we can just pass by Bulgaria, which is not on the way at all.
Yes.
So I felt really guilty about having added that on, but it was worth it because we got to see the concert. So,
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
can understand it. Why you would feel so much pressure
Hmm.
on a certain level
Hmm.
to be as helpful as you could and as smooth as you could to your beloved.
Hmm.
It's like
Yeah, of
you don't want
course.
to be the cause of them having to struggle,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah, no, I hear you on that. That's really so again, all of this applies directly
Hmm.
to our work.
Hmm.
right?
Definitely.
The
Yeah.
wealth creation part, making money,
Hmm.
serving clients, businesses that serve the public,
Hmm.
where there can be this enormous frustration when
Hmm.
it's not flowing
Right.
or there's problems of some kind. And it's just like the travel metaphor. That whole story you told
Hmm.
us is like a metaphor.
Hmm.
And then the switching the channels and getting out of the
Hmm.
nightmare then allows an influx
Yeah.
of
And
miracles. Yeah,
yeah, and I'll say one more really important thing. I
yeah,
knew that if I didn't change my mindset quick, there were so many more things that could go wrong that day. And I could
right.
see we need, there's like a story, not a story, just a little post, a little tidbit I saw online today, and it said something like, it said, I don't think, it was like one person saying, I don't think you need God to get to heaven. And then someone replied, you need God just to get to the grocery store. So
I love that.
that was what I was thinking. Like, okay, we were going
Yes.
from one flight we missed to then we needed two flights to get home and another train, and like a lot of things could prevent us from getting home tonight. It was starting to occur to me. I was like, I need to get into a positive mindset quick, otherwise we are not getting home tonight. So yeah.
Wow, that saying
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful because
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's my gas station story, Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm just doing a mundane thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it has such portent, it has such
Yes.
magnitude to it, and bad
Mm-hmm.
things can happen
Mm-hmm.
in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere that you've done a million times, you've done it, and nothing bad has ever happened. But I mean, that saying is compelling, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the whole story today is really really off the hook, as they say. It's off the chain. So
Thank you.
yeah. I can't again not if you decide to follow the
Yeah,
idea
I
of
will.
writing it,
Mm-hmm.
I will love reading it, and then it'll be fun to use it as a frame of reference
Mm-hmm.
as we go forward. Right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's an it's a very relatable story, and we can
Mm-hmm.
the more we relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really a pivot for us, both of
Mm-hmm.
us. The stories that we're sharing today, we're both pivoting in new Christ-centered ways. It's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to behold. So thank you for everything you shared again, and for your authenticity and vulnerability around that. Really appreciate it.
Sure. And
Yeah,
thanks
yeah,
for this lesson. And like you said, we've got one more episode on vision, right? Just one. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
And the one I'm thinking about is it would be a redo of something we did a while back that I can't remember anything
Mm-hmm.
specific from. It
Mm-hmm.
was, right at the beginning, probably 10 years ago when we started this. We're actually 14 years now, but I think recording it, I mean, being in a group, more of a structured group, it's been the last 10 years. So I'll dig it up, but it's on Light in A Course in Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a nice follow up to Vision,
Mm-hmm.
because it'll be a lot of things that we're familiar with about.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about physical light, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about spiritual light. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see, unless something else. You've made recommendations before, not putting any pressure on you, but until we get to that place, you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, God, what is it you want us to talk about? So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so well, good. Wow, what a call. This is like full of gifts and pleasant surprises on so many different levels. So thank you. I think we're good to
Okay.
finish for
Awesome.
today. So if you want to take us out,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening today. And yeah, if you guys feel compelled to watch a few episodes at a time, that would be really flattering. We were informed that some people like to watch them, and we try not to make them too long or too short. So we're at like about almost 45 minutes now. This is a longer one, so maybe this will be the last one you listen to today if you are doing that. But thanks, guys, so much for listening and
yes,
applying this and taking away any little nuggets that you find helpful. And you can always leave a comment if you have similar stories, if you've ever missed a flight before. That is a very humbling experience.
great story.
And we can all relate to something like that, a door physically closing, if not metaphorically closing in your face. So thanks, everyone, and we will see you in the next month's show. And bye,
Yeah,
Dave.
thank you, everyone. Ditto,
Mm-hmm.
ditto, everything Brittany you said, and I
Mm-hmm.
look forward to seeing you next month for the
Mm-hmm.
last of our 2024 series. Thank you for
Yes.
everything. Have a great month, Brittany.
Likewise. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
Bye.